This was an experience like no other. I had been to funerals before, but this one was different. Hundreds of people came and showed their respect to one person. It was a difficult time for me. I was only 13 at the time, and I was aware of my own mortality for the first time. It was Easter of 2006. Family members gathered over at my house. My grandma gave us all heartbreaking news. My cousin Mark Melcher died a few days before Easter. Mark was assigned to the 1st Battalion, 103rd Armored Division, Pennsylvania National Guard. He was serving in the Army for Operation Iraqi Freedom. The news shocked me. I can remember everybody's reaction today. Funeral service took place later in the week in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where my family is from. I remember it being so quiet in the room. Not a single person said a word. A few times I would hear a cry from someone, but not a word. It was a Sunday morning, and it was a cool and rainy day. We all met at the funeral home one last time to say our final goodbye. Family and friends of Mark carried his casket that was covered with the American flag out of the funeral home and into the hearse. We got into our cars and we were on our way to the Mass of Christian burial at St. Peter's Church on the North Shore of Pittsburgh. We were escorted by the Pittsburgh Police Department and the Pennsylvania National Guard. Hundreds of cars followed the hearse. People pulled over to look upon what was happening. We soon arrived at the church. I rode with my Aunt Teresa with a few of my cousins in the car. We stopped next to the church and waited for Mark's casket to be carried inside. Finally, we all got together and made our way into the church. Inside the church, there were rows of benches of mourning family and friends. The pastor stood behind the casket and gave a speech about what kind of a man Mark was. The pastor also wanted to thank him for serving our country. He continued to say a few words and did some prayers. When he was finished, family members picked up Mark's casket and carried it outside of the church, and we followed them out. When we walked outside the church, there were people outside standing in the street. They were news reporters, members of the Pennsylvania National Guard, prisoners of war, policemen, firefighters, and citizens of Pittsburgh. They all had an American flag in their hand. Not one of them said a word. It was heartwarming seeing all these people supporting my cousin. We got back into our cars and we were on our way to the cemetery. They had a special area for family members under a tent with chairs. The rain began to pick up. Once we all gathered around, the pastor started with a few prayers. When the pastor was finished, an army official announced the different medals that Mark was honored to. They gave them to my Aunt Kathy, who is Mark's mother. The members of the U.S. military did the 21-gun salute to Mark. They then took the American flag that was on Mark's casket and folded the flag into a perfect triangle. When they were finished, an army official handed the flag to my Aunt Kathy and Uncle John, and gave them both a hug and a kiss on the cheek. That was the end of the funeral for Mark, and all we could do was pray he was at peace. This was an experience that I will never forget. The people who took time out of their day to show their support to Mark and their country was like no other. It showed that people are proud to be an American, and we support the people who fought and died keeping us free today.